The wind howled outside Tae-min's cabin like an angry spirit. Snow fell in thick sheets, covering everything in white. He stood at his kitchen counter, chopping vegetables for dinner. The knife made rhythmic sounds against the wooden board. Everything was peaceful, just the way he liked it. And Bori started acting strange. His Jinno dog lifted her head from her sleeping spot near the fireplace. Her ears stood straight up. She stared at the front door with an intensity that made Tae-min pause mid-chop. Bori was a trained search and rescue dog, and she never acted nervous without reason. "What is it, girl?" Tae-min asked softly. Bori whined, a high-pitched sound that sent chills down his spine. She walked to the door and scratched at it with her paw. The dog looked back at him, her brown eyes pleading. Tae-min set down his knife. He had lived in these mountains for 3 years now, ever since he left his old life behind. He knew every sound the forest made. He knew how the wind moved through the trees, how animals sounded at night, how avalanches rumbled in the distance. But the sound he heard now was different. It was metallic. A scraping, grinding noise that didn't belong in nature. "Probably nothing," he muttered, but he grabbed his heavy coat anyway. He pulled on his boots and took a flashlight from the hook by the door. Bori was already spinning in circles, eager to go outside. The cold hit him like a physical force when he opened the door. The temperature had dropped fast. This wasn't normal winter cold. This was the kind of cold that could kill a person in hours. Bori bounded out into the snow, and Tae-min had no choice but to follow. The dog ran toward the back of the cabin, toward his woodshed. Tae-min's flashlight beam cut through the falling snow, creating a tunnel of light in the darkness. His breath came out in white clouds. His boots crunched through snow that was already knee-deep. That metallic sound came again. Louder now, closer. Bori barked once, sharp and urgent. She had stopped behind the woodshed, looking down at something. Tae-min's heart raced as he approached. His mind ran through possibilities. A crashed helicopter? A damaged snowmobile? Some hiker's equipment? Nothing prepared him for what he actually saw. She was partially buried in snow, curled into a ball. At first, Tae-min thought the cold and dark were playing tricks on his eyes. Her skin was pale blue, like ice. Patterns that looked like crystals ran across her face and neck, glowing faintly with their own light. She wore clothing that seemed to shift and shimmer, reflecting his flashlight beam like liquid metal. Tae-min stood frozen, his mind unable to process what he was seeing. This wasn't possible. This couldn't be real. But Bori didn't care about impossible things. The dog approached the figure carefully, sniffing. Then she lay down next to the stranger, pressing her warm body against the blue skin. That broke Tae-min's paralysis. Whatever this person was, wherever she came from, she was dying from the cold. He could see that clearly. She was shaking violently, her lips darker blue than the rest of her face. He had seen hypothermia enough times to recognize it, even in someone who looked nothing like a human. He knelt beside her, his hands shaking as he touched her shoulder. Her skin was ice cold, but it felt real, solid. She was real. "Hey," he said softly. "Can you hear me?" No response. Her eyes stayed closed. The crystal patterns on her skin flickered weakly. Tae-min looked past her and saw it then. About 30 meters up the hillside, there was a crater in the snow. Something was embedded in the frozen ground, still smoking despite the snow. It was small, maybe the size of a car. The metal was dark and smooth, with lights flickering across its surface. A escape pod. She had crashed here. "Okay," Tae-min said to himself, his training kicking in. "Okay, hypothermia protocol. Get her warm. Get her inside." He scooped her up in his arms. She was lighter than he expected, but solid, real. Her head lolled against his chest. Up close, he could see that her hair was white with streaks of silver, and it seemed to move on its own, like it was floating in water. Bor. I led the way back to the cabin, looking back every few seconds to make sure Tae Min was following. He kicked the door open and carried his strange guest inside. The warmth of the cabin felt like a blessing. He laid her on the couch near the fireplace, then ran to his bedroom for every blanket he owned. As he wrapped her in layers of wool and down, his mind raced. What was he doing? He should call someone. The police. The military. Someone who dealt with things like this. But who would believe him? And what would they do to her? 3 years ago, Tae Min had been part of a rescue team. He and his partner Hyen Woo had gone into an avalanche zone to save trapped hikers. The mountain had taken Hyen Woo and left Tae Min alive. He had carried that guilt ever since, hiding in these mountains where he couldn't fail anyone else. Now, here was someone who needed saving. Someone impossible. Someone who was going to die if he didn't help her. The decision made itself. He stoked the fire higher, added more logs. He boiled water for hot tea. He did everything his training had taught him about treating hypothermia. Bori never left the stranger's side, as if she had appointed herself as guardian. An hour passed. Then, too, the stranger's shaking slowly decreased. Her skin started to warm, though it never lost that blue tint. The crystal patterns on her face brightened, pulsing with a gentle rhythm that reminded Tae Min of a heartbeat, and her eyes opened. Tae Min gasped. Her eyes were like liquid silver, swirling with colors he didn't have names for. They focused on him with obvious intelligence and something else. Fear. She tried to speak. The sounds that came out were nothing like any language Tae Min had ever heard. They were melodic, layered, beautiful, and utterly incomprehensible. She looked around frantically, saw Bori, saw the cabin, saw Tae Min. Tears formed in those silver eyes. She lifted her arm weakly. There was a device on her wrist, a band of metal that glowed with symbols. She touched it with trembling fingers. The device projected a hologram into the air between them, showing images and symbols that shifted rapidly. Tae Min watched in amazement as the device seemed to listen to his breathing, to Bori's barking, to the crackle of the fire. It was learning, adapting, trying to understand. The stranger looked at him again. She placed her hand over her heart, then pointed at him, a question in her eyes. Tae Min, he said, pointing to himself. My name is Tae Min. She tried to repeat it, the sounds wrong but recognizable. Then she pointed to herself and said something in her own language. The device translated it into symbols, then into broken Korean that appeared in the hologram. Nari, thank you. Thank you for saving me. Tae Min nodded slowly. You're welcome, Nari. Outside, the wind continued to howl. Snow continued to fall. And in the crashed pod on the hillside, a beacon began to transmit into the darkness of space, sending a signal that would change everything. Morning light filtered through the cabin windows. Tae Min hadn't slept. He sat in his kitchen chair, watching Nari sleep on the couch. Bori was curled up on the floor beside her, snoring softly. The fire had burned down to glowing embers. Every few minutes, Tae Min questioned his own sanity. Was this really happening? Was there really an alien woman sleeping in his cabin? But every time he doubted, he just looked at her blue skin and those crystal patterns, and knew it was real. Nari stirred. Her silver eyes opened and found him immediately. She sat up slowly, the blankets falling away. Her strange clothing seemed to have repaired itself overnight. What had been torn and burned now looked smooth and whole. Good morning, Tae Min said quietly. The device on her wrist glowed. It had been working all night, he realized, learning Korean from every sound in the cabin. When Nari spoke, the translation came faster now, appearing as text in the hologram and as spoken words in a soft, artificial voice. "Good morning, Taemin. I apologize for the trouble I bring to you." "No trouble," he lied. "Are you feeling better?" Nari nodded. She looked at the window, at the snow-covered forest beyond. "This world is very cold. My people come from a warmer planet. This climate is difficult for my body. Where are you from?" Taemin asked. "Why did you crash here?" Nari's expression changed. Even though her face was alien, Taemin could read sadness in those silver eyes. She touched her wrist device, and the hologram expanded, showing images that made his breath catch. He saw cities of crystal and light. He saw people like Nari, thousands of them, walking through beautiful streets. Then the images changed. He saw dark ships descending from the sky. He saw fire. He saw those same people in chains, being herded onto transport ships like animals. "My people are called the Velsha," Nari said, her voice quiet even through the translator. "We were a peaceful species. We developed technology to help planets heal, to grow food anywhere, to control weather. We wanted to help others. But the Galactic Empire wanted us to make weapons instead, to turn our environmental tools into weapons of destruction." She paused, touching a symbol on the hologram. The image changed to show an older Velsha male with kind eyes. "My father was our lead scientist. He refused. He said our technology was meant to give life, not take it. The Empire executed him as an example to others. They scattered my family. They made us slaves." Taemin felt anger building in his chest. He knew what it meant to lose someone. He understood that pain in her voice. "I escaped from a labor camp 6 cycles ago," Nari continued. "In your time measurement, perhaps 2 months. I have been running since then. I heard rumors of a sanctuary world, a place where the Empire doesn't go. I tried to reach it, but my navigation failed. I ended up here instead." "Earth," Taemin said. "This planet is called Earth." Nari nodded. "Earth. The device knows this name now. But Taemin, there is something important you must know. Earth is in a restricted zone. The Galactic Empire has forbidden contact with your world. They consider your species too dangerous." "Dangerous?" Taemin almost laughed. "We don't even have faster-than-light travel. How are we dangerous to an empire that spans galaxies?" "Not dangerous because of your technology," Nari said. Her silver eyes studied him carefully. "Dangerous because of your nature. The Empire studies primitive worlds. They watch how species develop. Your people frighten them because you adapt too quickly. You survive things that kill other species. You never give up, even when giving up would be logical. The Empire believes that if humans ever reach the stars, you will be impossible to control." Taemin didn't know what to say to that. He got up and walked to the stove, started making tea. He needed something normal to do while his brain processed all of this. "So what happens now?" He asked. "You're here. I know about aliens. What happens to us?" Before Nari could answer, Bori's head shot up. The dog growled low in her throat, staring at the front door. "Someone comes," Nari said urgently. She looked at her wrist device, and her face went pale. No, this is not possible." "What?" "What is it?" "The beacon. From my pod. I tried to disable it, but I was too weak. It has been transmitting." She stood up quickly, her body tense. "Hunters will have detected it. They are probably already here." Taemin's phone rang. The sound made both of them jump. He looked at the screen. Ji Woo, his sister. He hadn't talked to her in weeks. "Taemin." Ji Woo's voice was urgent when he answered. "Where are you?" "Are you at the cabin?" "Yes, why?" I'm tracking some strange electromagnetic signals near your location. Really strange. The patterns don't match anything natural or man-made. I thought maybe your equipment was malfunctioning, but these readings are crazy. Are you okay? Tae-min looked at Nari, who was staring at him with worry in her eyes. Ooh, listen carefully. Don't come here. Stay in the city. I'm fine, but there's a situation, and I need you to stay safe. A situation? What kind of situation? Tae-min, you're scaring me. Just trust me. Please, stay away from the mountains for a few days. He heard his sister take a breath. Ji-woo was smart. She worked as a telecommunications engineer, always analyzing signals and data. She knew when something was seriously wrong. Okay, she said finally, but I'm calling you every day. If you don't answer, I'm coming there with the police. Deal. I'll call you tonight. He hung up and turned to Nari. My sister. She detected your beacon's signal. If she detected it, others have too, Nari said. She walked to the window and looked out at the forest. The hunters will come soon. They are called the Korvex, insect-like creatures who serve the Empire as mercenaries. They are efficient killers, and they have orders to retrieve me or eliminate me. Anyone who has seen me must also die. Tae-min felt his old training resurface, the calm focus that had made him good at rescue work. How many usually come in a hunting party? 3, typically. They work as a coordinated unit. They have thermal sensors, energy weapons, technology far beyond anything on your world. But they don't know these mountains, Tae-min said. And they don't know humans. He went to his bedroom and opened a locked cabinet. Inside were his old rescue equipment, maps of the area, emergency supplies. He also had a hunting rifle, though he doubted it would do much against energy weapons. Nari followed him. Tae-min, you should call your authorities. Turn me over to them. There is no reason for you to die protecting me. He looked at her. 3 years ago, my partner died in these mountains. I couldn't save him. I've lived with that guilt every day since then. Maybe I can't fight aliens with advanced weapons, but I know these mountains better than anyone. I know caves they can't scan, trails they won't expect, places where their technology won't help them. You would risk your life for someone you just met? Yes, Tae-min said simply. That's what humans do. We help people who need help, even if they're from another planet. Nari was quiet for a moment. Then she smiled. It was a small, sad smile, but real. Perhaps the Empire is right to fear your kind. A sound outside made them both freeze. It was distant, but clear. A high-pitched whine, like something mechanical descending from the sky. Bori barked once, loud and sharp. They're here, Nari whispered. Tae-min grabbed his pack, his maps, his supplies. Then we move. Now, I know a cave system about 3 kilometers from here. If we can reach it before they pick up our trail, we might have a chance. And if we can't? Tae-min checked his rifle, more out of habit than hope. Then we make them work for it. Come on. They ran out the back door into the snow. Bori led the way, her nose to the ground. Behind them, the whine grew louder. 3 dark shapes appeared in the sky, descending toward the cabin like hunting birds closing on prey. The chase had begun. The snow was getting worse. Tae-min led them through the forest at a fast pace, following paths he had memorized over 3 years of living in these mountains. Nari struggled behind him, not used to the cold or the terrain. Bori stayed close to her, as if understanding the alien needed help. Behind them, the 3 Korvex hunters had landed near the cabin. Tae-min didn't need to see them to know they were there. He could hear the mechanical sounds of their equipment, the alien chittering of their communication. How much further? Nari gasped. Her blue skin had gone darker from the cold and exertion. 1 more kilometer, Tae-min said. Can you make it? I must. They pushed on. Tae-min's mind was working fast, planning. He had prepared for avalanche rescues, for lost hikers, for natural disasters. He had never prepared for alien hunters with advanced weapons. But survival was survival. The principles were the same. Use the terrain. Use surprise. Use what your enemy doesn't expect. They reached a narrow pass between two cliff faces. Tae-min stopped and pulled out one of his emergency flares. He lit it and threw it behind a large rock formation about 50 meters away. What are you doing? Nari asked. Creating false trails. Your translator said they use thermal sensors, right? These flares burn hot. They'll give off a heat signature. If we spread enough of them around, we can confuse their sensors. Understanding showed in Nari's silver eyes. A clever tactic. They moved on, and Tae-min placed 2 more flares in different directions. By the time they reached the cave entrance, he had used 6 of them, creating a web of false heat signatures throughout the forest. The cave was hidden behind a fallen tree and thick brush. Tae-min had discovered it during one of his early explorations. It went deep into the mountain, with multiple chambers and exits, perfect for hiding and for escape if needed. Inside, out of the wind, they finally stopped to catch their breath. Bori shook snow from her fur. Nari leaned against the cave wall, her chest heaving. Thank you, she said, for not abandoning me. We're not safe yet, Tae-min replied. He pulled out his topographic map and a small light. This cave system connects to 3 different exits. If they find us here, we have options. Nari touched her wrist device. It projected a hologram that showed the area around them, but with strange symbols and readings that Tae-min couldn't understand. I can try to disrupt their sensors, she said. My people's technology is designed to work with natural environments. I can create a localized fog bank that will interfere with their equipment. But it takes time, and it will drain my device's power. Do it, Tae-min said. Every advantage helps. Nari knelt on the cave floor and placed both hands on the ground. Her crystal patterns began glowing brighter. The device on her wrist hummed. Outside, the air began to change. Fog rolled in from nowhere, thick and cold, spreading through the forest like a living thing. Incredible, Tae-min whispered. Not incredible, Nari said, her voice strained. Just understanding how water and air interact. How to encourage them to create specific conditions. My father taught me these techniques when I was young. Before the Empire came, the fog thickened. Soon visibility outside the cave was reduced to just a few meters. Then they heard it. A sound that made Bori's fur stand up and a growl rumble in her throat. Clicking, chittering sounds getting closer. The Corvex were adapting to the fog. Moving methodically through it, Tae-min picked up his rifle and moved to the cave entrance. Through gaps in the fog, he caught his first clear glimpse of the hunters. They were nightmares made real. Tall, easily over 2 meters, with bodies that looked like a horrible mix of insect and machine. Their exoskeletons were dark and metallic. Multiple eyes glowed red in their heads. They moved with terrifying speed and precision, each one carrying weapons that crackled with energy. One of them stopped and raised a device, scanning the area. The fog seemed to confuse it. It chittered to its companions, and they spread out, searching. Stay quiet, Tae-min breathed, but Bori had other ideas. She saw these things as threats to her pack, to Tae-min and Nari. With a fierce bark, she ran out of the cave toward the nearest hunter. Bori, no. Tae-min shouted. Everything happened fast. The hunter spun toward the dog, its weapon rising. Tae-min didn't think. He raised his rifle and fired. Bullet hit the hunter's weapon, not doing much damage, but knocking it off target. The energy blast went wide, hitting a tree instead. The tree exploded into splinters. Now, all three hunters knew where they were. Run! Tae-min grabbed Nari's arm and pulled her deeper into the cave. Bori bounded back to them, and they ran together into the darkness. Behind them, the Corvex entered the cave. Their glowing red eyes cut through the darkness, like beacons of death. Tae-min knew these caves. He ran on instinct and memory, one hand on the wall to guide him. They went down through narrow passages that the large hunters had to squeeze through. That bought them seconds, precious seconds. They emerged in a larger chamber. Tae-min could hear water dripping, which meant they were near one of the underground streams. Good. That was good. He pulled Nari toward the sound. "The stream," he gasped. "It leads to another exit." "We follow it." They splashed into icy water that came up to their knees. The cold was brutal, but Tae-min knew it would mask their heat signatures again. They waded downstream, moving as fast as the slippery rocks allowed. The Corvex reached the chamber. Tae-min heard them chittering in frustration. Their thermal sensors were useless in the cold water. They would have to search manually, but then something unexpected happened. One of the hunters spoke in broken Korean. The translator device must have been working on their language, too. "Stop running. We do not wish to kill unnecessarily." Tae-min and Nari froze in the water. The voice came from all around them, echoing off the cave walls. "The female must return to face justice," the voice continued. "You, human, are innocent in this. Surrender her, and you will live." Nari touched Tae-min's arm. In the darkness, her crystal patterns provided a faint light. "You should do what they say," she whispered. "Save yourself." "Not happening," Tae-min whispered back. The hunter spoke again. "Human, your world is in a restricted zone. By harboring this fugitive, you violate galactic law. There will be consequences." "Consequences for who?" Tae-min called back. His voice echoed in the cave. "For me? I'm one person. You think I care about your laws?" Silence, then different clicking sounds. The hunters were communicating with each other, probably surprised by his defiance. A new voice spoke, different from the first. Softer, more hesitant. "Human, you do not understand what you defend. This one is a criminal. She stole Empire property when she escaped." "She's not property," Tae-min shouted. "She's a person. And I don't care what your Empire thinks." More clicking sounds. The hunters were arguing among themselves. Tae-min could sense disagreement in their tones. Nari's device suddenly beeped. She looked at it, and her face showed alarm. "Tae-min, there are more signals." "Not Corvex. Something else is coming. Human technology signatures." "What? Who?" Before she could answer, a new sound filled the cave. A loudspeaker speaking Korean. "Human voices. Attention. This is a restricted military zone. All persons in this cave must exit immediately with hands visible. This is your only warning." Tae-min's blood ran cold. The military. Someone must have detected all this activity and sent a team. But what would they do when they saw aliens? The Corvex suddenly moved. Fast. They weren't retreating, but repositioning. They didn't want to face human forces either. "Tae-min," Nari said urgently. "The humans outside. They have different orders than simple military. My device detects specialized equipment. Communication jammers. Containment fields. They are not regular soldiers." "Who are they then?" "A secret organization. Your world has been preparing for contact. They monitor for extraterrestrial activity. They were waiting for something like this to happen. The situation had gone from bad to impossible. 3 alien hunters in the cave with them. Human special forces outside. No good options left. Then the cave system shook. A massive explosion somewhere above them. Rocks fell from the ceiling. Dust filled the air. Nari grabbed Taemin's arm. My pod, they are destroying it. Removing evidence. Through the chaos and fallen rocks, through the shouting of human soldiers and the chittering of alien hunters, Taemin heard one more sound. A small electronic beep from Nari's wrist device. She looked at it and went very still. No, oh no. What now? The self-destruct beacon. I activated it as a last resort before we ran. I forgot about it in the chaos. It has been counting down. In 30 seconds, my pod will explode with enough force to level everything within half a kilometer. Everyone in and around this cave would die. Tae-min made a decision in that split second. He grabbed Nari and shouted in Korean, in English, in any language he could think of. Everyone out. Everyone run. Bomb. Explosion. Move. He didn't know if the hunters understood. He didn't care. He ran, pulling Nari with him, Ori at their heels. Behind them, he heard sounds of confusion, then understanding, then panic. The humans outside were shouting. The Corvex were running. Everyone was running from the coming explosion. They burst out of a side exit just as the world turned white and loud. The explosion threw them forward into deep snow. Taemin wrapped himself around Nari, protecting her from the blast. Heat and pressure washed over them. Trees snapped like toothpicks. Rocks rained down from the mountain. Then silence. Taemin's ears were ringing. He couldn't hear anything else. Slowly, carefully, he raised his head. The mountainside behind them was scarred black. Smoke rose into the sky. His cabin was definitely gone. Everything within hundreds of meters was destroyed. Nari stirred beneath him. Taemin? Are you hurt? I don't think so. He did a quick check. Bruises, definitely. Maybe a cracked rib. But alive. They were alive. Ori? A bark answered him. The dog emerged from a snowbank, shaking herself off. She limped over to them, but seemed okay. Movement caught Taemin's eye. One of the Corvex hunters was pulling itself from the debris. Its exoskeleton was cracked, leaking strange blue fluid. It saw them and reached for its weapon, but the weapon was broken. The hunter collapsed, still alive but badly injured. Then human voices. Taemin tensed, but hands were already grabbing them, pulling them up. Men in black tactical gear surrounded them. Their faces were hidden behind helmets with dark visors. Don't move, one of them said in Korean. You're both coming with us. A woman's voice cut through the chaos. Wait, don't hurt them, please. Taemin turned his head. Gai Wu. His sister was here, held between two soldiers. Her face was pale with shock. Wu? What are you doing here? I told you those signals were weird, she said, her voice shaking. I came to check on you. These men grabbed me the moment I got close to the mountain. Taemin, what is happening? What is she? She stared at Nari with wide eyes. Before Taemin could answer, a new figure approached. An older man, maybe 45, with sharp eyes and a calm expression, despite the chaos. He wore the same tactical gear as the others, but something about him said commander. My name is Hansal, the man said. I'm the director of Project Aegis. We're the organization that monitors and responds to extraterrestrial contact. And you too have created quite a situation. We didn't ask for this, Taemin said. No, you didn't. But here we are. Hansal looked at Nari with curiosity, but no hostility. A Velsha refugee, if I'm reading the preliminary scans correctly, fleeing the Galactic Empire. That's going to complicate things. Nari's translator device spoke. You know of my people? You know of the Empire? We know more than most people on Earth realize, Hansal said. We've been tracking alien signals for 30 years. We've recovered crashed probes. We've intercepted communications. We know Earth is in a restricted zone. We know there's a reason for that restriction. And we've been preparing. A soldier approached and whispered something to Hansol. The director's expression darkened. We have a problem. The Corvex hunter that survived is transmitting a distress signal. A galactic enforcement cruiser is responding. It will arrive in approximately 72 hours. When it does, it will have enough firepower to sterilize this entire region to eliminate evidence of contact. Tae Min felt sick. They'd kill everyone? Just to hide the fact that someone saw aliens? The Galactic Empire doesn't take chances, Nari said quietly. They have done this before to other worlds. I have seen the records. Ji Woo found her voice. So what do we do? Run? Hide? What? Hansol was quiet for a moment, thinking. Then he looked directly at Tae Min. Your sister tells me you were a search and rescue specialist. One of the best. You led teams into impossible situations and brought people out alive. Is that true? Was, Tae Min said. Past tense. But you still have those skills. You proved that today, evading trained alien hunters using nothing but knowledge of terrain and basic tactics. That's impressive. Hansol paused. I'm going to make you an offer. Join Project Aegis. Help us understand how to fight back. Or be detained for Earth's safety. Your choice. That's not much of a choice. No, it isn't. But it's all I can give you right now. Tae Min looked at Nari, then at his sister. Ji Woo looked terrified, but was trying to be brave. Nari met his eyes and gave a small nod. Do what you must, her expression said. What about her? Tae Min asked, pointing to Nari. And the hunter who survived? We take them to our facility. Medical care, debriefing, protection. We're not the Empire. We don't execute refugees. A clicking sound made everyone turn. The injured Corvex hunter was trying to stand. One of Hansol's soldiers raised a weapon, but Hansol held up a hand to stop him. The hunter managed to get to its feet. Up close, it looked even more alien and frightening. But something in its posture seemed different. Less aggressive. Almost defeated, Nari's translator picked up its words. This one. Requests to speak. Everyone waited, tense. This one is called Vix, the hunter continued, its words translated into Korean. This one has seen many missions. Hunted many refugees. Always told they were criminals, dangerous. But today, this one saw a human risk death for a stranger. Saw mercy when killing would be easier. Saw bravery without weapons or armor. Vix looked directly at Tae Min. The Empire teaches that primitive species are savage, emotional, weak, but this one thinks perhaps the Empire lies. Perhaps the Empire is afraid of something in your species. Something that cannot be conquered. Tae Min didn't know what to say. Was this hunter really defecting? Or was it a trick? Nari spoke up. Vix, I remember you. From the labor camp where I was held. You were the guard who looked away when my friend tried to escape. You let her reach the transport bay. This one did not see her, Vix said. This one's visual sensors malfunctioned at that moment. A fortunate error. You helped us? Nari seemed stunned. This one has doubts. Has had doubts for many cycles. But the Empire does not tolerate doubt. To question is to become a target. But now, seeing your human fight for you, watching him warn even his enemies of danger, this one cannot pretend anymore. Hansol stepped forward. If you're defecting, you'll have information we need. About Empire tactics, technology, military structure. This one will share everything, Vix said. But this one also brings warning. The cruiser that comes is not just enforcement. It carries a warlord, a commander named Zektar. He was tasked with securing this sector. He will not accept failure. He will not negotiate. Nari gasped. Zektar? He is the one who commanded the raid on my planet. He personally oversaw my father's execution. Her crystal patterns flared bright with emotion. Anger, pain, something else that Taemin couldn't quite read. G-Wu, who had been quiet, suddenly spoke up. Wait, you said the cruiser arrives in 72 hours. That's 3 days. Can't we evacuate? Get everyone out of the region? And go where? Han Sol asked. If Zektar decides Earth is compromised, he won't stop at one region. He'll report to the Empire. They'll escalate. Best case, they enforce the quarantine more strictly. Worst case, they decide Earth is too much of a risk and do something permanent. The weight of those words hung in the air. They weren't just talking about their own lives anymore. They were talking about the entire planet. Taemin's mind was racing. All his life, he'd solved problems by being smart, by using what he had, by never giving up. But how did you fight a spaceship? How did you stop an empire? Then an idea started forming. Crazy, impossible. But maybe... Nari, he said slowly, you mentioned labor camps. Where your people are held. Where your brother is. She nodded, confused by the change of subject. Yes, Dal, my younger brother. He was sent to a mining facility in the Kevara system. Why? Because if Zektar is coming here, he's leaving somewhere else. He's leaving his forces stretched thin. And if there's one thing I learned in rescue operations, it's that the best defense is sometimes an impossible offense. Make your enemy react to you, instead of making you react to them. Han Sol's eyes widened. You can't be suggesting. A rescue mission, Taemin said. We use the time before the cruiser arrives to hit the labor camp. Free the prisoners. Make Zektar choose between coming here or protecting his operation. That's insane, Ji-Woo said. We don't even have spaceships, but they do. Taemin pointed to Vix, and they left ships when they crashed here. Damaged, but maybe repairable. And we have Nari, who understands their technology. We have Vix, who knows their procedures. We have Project Aegis, who have been preparing for something like this. It's still suicide, one of the soldiers muttered. Maybe, Taemin said, but doing nothing guarantees we die. At least this way, we save some people. We show the Empire that humans aren't primitive savages. We're something they should actually worry about. Nari was staring at him. You would do this? Risk everything to save people you've never met? To save my brother? Yes, Taemin said simply. Because it's the right thing to do. Han Sol was quiet for a long time. Then he smiled, just a little. You know what? I've spent 30 years preparing for first contact. Preparing for defense. Maybe it's time we went on offense instead. Let's do it. The next 48 hours were chaos. Project Aegis moved them to a hidden facility deep underground. Taemin had never imagined anything like it existed in Korea. Hangars full of reverse-engineered technology. Scientists working on alien artifacts. Soldiers training with weapons that looked like they came from science fiction. Han Sol hadn't been joking. Earth had been preparing Ji-Woo threw herself into helping repair the captured Corvex ships. Her engineering background made her invaluable. She worked alongside Nari, the two of them finding ways to interface alien systems with human understanding. Taemin watched his sister adapt to this impossible situation with the same determination she brought to everything in her life. VIX provided tactical information, guard rotations, security protocols, weaknesses in the Empire's standard procedures. The Corvex seemed genuinely committed to helping. though some of the Aegis soldiers still watched it with suspicion. Tae-min spent his time planning the actual rescue operation with Hansal and Captain Dae-young, the soldier who would lead the strike team. Dae-young was in his late 30s, tough and experienced, with scars that told stories of hard-fought battles. The labor camp is on an asteroid, Vix explained, projecting a hologram of the facility. 200 prisoners, mostly Velsia. Guards number approximately 40. The facility is designed to prevent escape from inside, not to repel assault from outside. They do not expect rescue attempts. No one is foolish enough to attack Empire property. Then we'll be the first, Tae-min said. The plan was risky. They would use the captured hunter ship with Vix's credentials to get close. Then a quick strike to the command center, disable communications before they could call for help. Free the prisoners and escape before reinforcements arrived. Simple in theory, deadly in practice. Bori stayed close to Tae-min through all the preparations. The dog seemed to understand that something big was happening. She rested her head on his knee while he studied the tactical maps, offering silent comfort. On the morning of the mission, Nari found Tae-min in the hangar. He was checking his gear one last time. "You do not have to do this," she said quietly. "None of you do. This is not your fight." "Yes, it is," Tae-min replied. "The moment I decided to help you instead of turning away, it became my fight. Besides, if we don't stop Zektar's attention somehow, he'll come to Earth anyway. At least this way, we're making the first move." "My people have a saying," Nari said. "The flame that burns brightest burns shortest." "You are very bright, Tae-min. I hope you do not burn out." He smiled. "If I do, it'll be for something that matters." The team assembled. Tae-min, Nari, Vix, Captain Dae-young, and 5 other Aegis soldiers. Ji-woo stayed behind, coordinating communications from the facility. She hugged her brother tightly before he left. "You better come back," she whispered. "I didn't find out aliens are real just to lose you." "I'll come back," he promised. "I still need to introduce you properly to Nari, and someone needs to help you explain all this to Mom." The ship lifted off smoothly. Tae-min's stomach dropped as they left Earth's atmosphere. Through the viewport, he watched his home planet shrink behind them. It looked so beautiful, so fragile. The journey to the asteroid took 6 hours at faster-than-light speeds that made Tae-min's brain hurt to think about. Vix piloted, its insectoid limbs moving across the controls with practiced ease. "Approaching the facility," Vix announced. "Transmitting identification codes now." A moment of tension. Then a response came through in the clicking language of the Corvex. Vix clicked back, sounding casual. "They accepted the codes," Nari translated. "They think we are a routine patrol, checking on facility security." The asteroid came into view. It was dark and pitted, with the labor camp built into its surface like a metal tumor. Lights glowed from the structures. Tae-min could see ships docked at the landing bay. "Landing approach granted," Vix said. "Prepare yourselves." The ship touched down. The team stood, checking weapons one last time. Tae-min carried an Aegis assault rifle, modified to work in space environments. It felt inadequate compared to the alien weapons, but it was familiar, reliable. The landing bay doors opened. 4 Corvex guards waited outside, their posture casual. They weren't expecting trouble. Vix walked out first, clicking a greeting. The guards clicked back. Then Vix did something Tae-min hadn't expected. It attacked the nearest guard with brutal efficiency, dropping it before the others could react. "Now!" Captain Dae-young shouted. The team poured out of the ship. The fight was short and brutal. The element of surprise gave them the advantage. Within seconds, all 4 guards were down. "Move fast," Tae-young ordered. We have maybe 5 minutes before someone notices. They ran through the facility's corridors. Nari led the way, her device scanning for life signs. The prisoners were held in the central section, a massive chamber that looked like it had been carved from the asteroid itself. They hit the first security checkpoint. 6 guards. This time there was no surprise. Energy blasts lit up the corridor. One of the Aegis soldiers went down with a scream. Tae-min fired his rifle, the bullets finding their marks. The guards fell. 3 minutes, Dae-young said, his voice tight. They reached the prison chamber. The doors were sealed with complex locks. Nari worked frantically at the control panel while the team took defensive positions. Tae-min could hear alarms blaring now. The facility knew they were here. Got it. Nari shouted. The doors opened. Inside, dozens of Velsha prisoners stared at them in shock. They were thin, dirty, their crystal patterns dim from malnutrition and despair. Tae-min saw children among them. His heart ached. We're here to rescue you, Nari called out in her language. Follow us to the ships. Quickly. For a moment, no one moved. They couldn't believe it. Then one prisoner stepped forward. A young Velsha male, maybe 14 or 15, with patterns similar to Nari's. Nari? He said, his voice breaking. Sister? Doll? Nari ran to him, embracing him tightly. Tears streamed down her face, making her crystal patterns shimmer. The moment broke the spell. The prisoners surged forward, following them. But so did the guards. A massive firefight erupted in the corridor. Energy blasts and bullets filled the air. 2 more Aegis soldiers fell. Tae-min saw Captain Dae-young take a blast to the chest, saw him stumble, but keep fighting. Go. Duh, Jung shouted. Get them to the ships. I'll hold here. Captain, no? Tae-min started back. That's an order. Someone has to slow them down. Vix suddenly pushed past Tae-min. This one will stay. This one has much to atone for. Go. Save them. Show the Empire what humans can do. There was no time to argue. Tae-min herded the prisoners toward the landing bay. Nari and Dal helped the weak ones. Behind them, the sounds of fighting grew more intense. They reached the bay. The ships were there, but so were more guards. A dozen at least, between them and escaped Tae-min, made a split-second decision. Everyone down. He pulled out his last grenade, an EMP device that Ji Woo had modified. He threw it into the middle of the guards. The electromagnetic pulse burst out, frying their weapons and sensors. The guards stumbled, confused. Now. Everyone run. The prisoners poured into the ships. Tae-min stood at the entrance, firing to cover them. His rifle clicked empty. He drew his sidearm, kept firing. A guard got close. Bori, who had stayed with him the whole time, launched herself at the guard's leg, biting and holding on. Good girl, Tae-min gasped, putting rounds into the fallen guard. The last prisoner boarded. Tae-min ran for the ship, Bori racing beside him. Energy blasts scorched the floor behind them. They dove through the door as it closed. Go, he shouted. Get us out of here. The ships lifted off. Through the viewport, Tae-min saw the facility falling behind. Explosions rippled across its surface. Vix and Dae-young's final gift. They had destroyed the facility's power core. Then they jumped to faster-than-light speed, and the asteroid vanished behind them. The trip back to Earth was quiet. The rescued prisoners huddled together, still unable to believe they were free. Nari sat with Dal, holding his hand, crying softly. Tae-min checked on his team. Of the 8 who had gone in, only 5 had come back. The cost had been high, but they had saved 73 lives. 73 people who would have died in that camp. When they reached Earth, Ji Woo was waiting in the hangar. She pulled her brother into a fierce hug, checking him for injuries. "The broadcast worked," she said. "While you were gone, we sent everything to all known galactic channels. Video of the rescue. Proof that humans from a primitive world just freed Empire slaves. It's spreading fast." Han Sol approached, looking tired but satisfied. Zektar's cruiser changed course. He's being recalled to deal with the fallout. The Empire is in damage control mode. They can't come to Earth now without admitting their weakness. "We bought time," Taemin said. "More than that. You showed them we're not afraid, that we'll fight for what's right, even against impossible odds. The galactic community is watching us now. Some with fear, some with hope. Either way, Earth isn't invisible anymore." Days passed. The refugees were given sanctuary. Nari and Dal stayed with Taemin temporarily, though his cabin was destroyed. They found a small house in the mountains where they could live quietly while Project Aegis worked on long-term solutions. Tae-Min sat on the porch one evening, watching the sunset. Nare joined him, 2 cups of tea in her hands. She had learned to appreciate Korean tea. "Dal asked about staying here," she said. "On Earth. He says he feels safe for the first time since our planet fell." "He's welcome as long as he needs," Taemin replied. "You both are." They sat in comfortable silence. Bori slept at their feet, snoring softly. "Do you regret it?" Nari asked finally. "Your life was quiet before I crashed here. Now you are involved in something much bigger." Taemin thought about Hyan Woo, about the guilt he had carried for 3 years. He thought about the prisoners they had saved, about Dal's smile when he saw his sister again. He thought about Captain Dae-Young and Vix, who had sacrificed themselves so others could live. "No," he said. "For the first time in years, I don't regret anything. I finally did something that mattered." "Your species is strange," Nari said with a smile. "Terrifying and wonderful at the same time. The Empire was right to be afraid." A shooting star crossed the sky. Or maybe it wasn't a star. Maybe it was something else. A probe. A ship. The galaxy watching Earth, wondering what these strange humans would do next. Tae-Min smiled. Let them wonder. Let them watch. Humanity was ready for whatever came next. They weren't hiding anymore.